Hey guys, we're just so excited here to share with you some of our story and our insights and perspective over the last number of years, 30 years really. And I'll let Jan say hi, and then I'm going to kick it off.
Awesome. I know I always say that sometimes this is our hardest part is telling our story because there was many times that nobody wanted to hear anything. So it is hard to think back but then I always like talking about what's going on now too, and because it is all about mindset. It doesn't matter what your story is as far as building this business, how you got started, how you went diamond, how you went platinum, how you went ruby. It really doesn't matter. You know what matters is your mindset and your mindset of getting through everything that you need to get through. And all of us are going to get through the things that are going to make us bigger, stronger, better people. And the challenges that Bill and I went through and still go through to this day are making us bigger and better people. So I just encourage you, don't look at your challenge as a problem. Look at your challenges as making you better.
Awesome. Sorry to be moving around. I just wanted to set a time so that we can honor the function. Jan and I feel so privileged, running functions of our own. It's always great when the speakers stay on time and we have a successful function. So we're just going to start our story. Obviously, Jan's so right on. There was decades when really nobody cared what we did or who we were. And so it seems a little odd, but I do know you get more illustration from a story. So we'll try to weave in a little bit of that. Like I said in our teaching earlier today, my attitude, my upbringing was, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I got raised on a farm. And so I got taught a phenomenal work ethic. From the time I was able to walk, I was probably able to work. I'd run my dad a drink or a wrench or something. Probably explains why my brother didn't walk till he was 12. But that's a whole nother seminar. So anyway, we grew up like that. I was a big sports guy, and obviously hockey was the main thing. But if you could kick it, punch it, stick it, whatever, hit it, I played it. And so that's probably where I felt I was going to be able to escape the work of the farm, was pursue a hockey career. I just lacked a couple of things in that. One was talent, and the other one was talent. Yeah. So, but anyway, that upbringing of work ethic, having that family environment, not, going to bed before you could do everything you can because the next day it'd be piled on more, really probably played well for me when I was introduced to this asset, because I had appreciation. We didn't have much. My dad actually was foster raised, and when him and my mother started a farm, they really started a small one with what they could scrape together after working a few years for somebody else. So we didn't have the flamboyant acreages, the flamboyant equipment or whatever. We just muscled through, and so that definitely taught me a lot about delayed gratification and not being able to do things with not always having the most perfect tools. So anyway, we get married, Jan and I, and actually just before we got married, we went on a marriage encounter course, which is like 3 hours north of us. That's where we could attend one in the time frame that we wanted. And we sat in this course for the weekend, and I think it was near the end on a Sunday, just after Mass. We sat there, and the priest kept, looking at us funny, and so at the end of the conference, he came up to us and he said, "You and Jan just have something special. You guys are going to lead thousands of people, and us lead thousands of people." And so then all the way home, all we could talk about is we need to go buy a bar. We need to go buy something where we could benefit from leading thousands of people, because that's where our mindset was. And I'm not proud of that. You can make many plans, but God's purpose will prevail. And in saying that, we actually made an offer on a restaurant bar and were declined because we had no money. And so we were actually put in.
I think I remember back, it was like $35,000, wasn't it, for this restaurant and bar? Yeah. And it was like, we had no money.
We had nothing. We had nothing. We got married. I was country poor. I didn't even have a credit card. We didn't go on a honeymoon. I'm not, when you're courting, you can get away with saying, "Oh, we're going to have this nice home. We're going to have this nice car. We're going to travel." But when you're married, that's called lying. And so I was, just still under that assumption that if you worked hard, I went off to school, an ag school, just to get away from the work for a couple of months. But really, I probably spent more time working because, I had to pay for college and the fun things I wanted to do. And, so Jan and I, got married. And I think that's where she wants to kind of pick it off a little bit, how we got started, introduced to the asset. But I just wanted to kind of let you know where I came from and what was happening for me. So.
Well, I think I talked a little bit about challenges. And so I do have to back up a bit because I know sometimes, we forget what we went through, but we had, I look at our picture here, we have all the beautiful kids and grandkids now, and it's just so exciting. And, but we look back on what we went through, because even when we seen the business, we had just got home from sick kids, a year and a half at sick kids with our third child. And she had a feeding disorder and basically she would not take a bottle. She would not nurse. We could not feed her. And so anyways, it was a year and a half at sick kids. And basically we brought her home. She was a year old and she was 11 pounds. And so anyways, we had the two other girls, brought Jenna home. And then we found out we were expecting number 4. So it was like, oh my goodness. But I think that was, it was crazy because that was the time we seen, we seen the business. And, because we were not looking, we were busier than ever, obviously with a child with special needs, 2 other kids at home, and then expecting our 4th. We were busy, but we were looking. And I think the biggest thing.
We were not looking, but we were looking.
Yeah, we were looking, but we weren't looking. Yeah. We knew that we didn't know what we wanted, but we knew we wanted a better tomorrow. Because what we were experiencing that day or at that time is what we did not want, because we were living in an 1,100 square foot rented home. Bill was working basically for a farmer, and the house came with the farm.
Farm construction.
Farm construction. So the house came with the farm. And so if he ever lost his job, we'd lose the house. So I think that made it, there was a little bit of fear there. Yeah. And I just heard audio this week, and it was called Blood, Sweat, and Fears. And I love that because that is our story, blood, sweat, and fears. And because, we had a lot of stuff going on, but Bill and I both did a lot of work, and we got through our fears to conquer this business and to conquer life. And I just get so excited.
Yeah, I think, in going back, as Janice mentioned, Jenna and being at sick kids, it was just a frustration because up until that point, you had this mindset that you could outwork any problem, any situation. So, your work ethic kind of pushed you forward. But there, being totally out of sorts, I was totally 100% out of control. Even it was so devastating to me as a husband and a father. I got paid to work. I didn't have any leave time or maternity leave or whatever. And so we had bills to pay. I had two other children to feed. And so Janice would be dealing with this at the hospital. I'd be, dealing with the other 2 kids, trying to make a living and an income. And, it was not ideal, but it did make us understand that things could happen out of our control and we needed to sort some stuff out. And, and I think up until that point, John Maxwell says example isn't the main thing in leadership, it's the only thing. And that can mean good or bad. And at that point, I think some of the examples I had in my life, from the men that were in my life were not great examples of mentorship and people that I wanted to be. They had bad marriages, they had bad family lives. It was just, the guys I worked for in construction were in their 50s. They were doing the work as hard as I was, if not harder. And you had this optimism that if you pursued a career like that, at some point you would be able to shut her down or slow it up. And so there was a lot of moving parts, that Jan and I had going on in our lives that, was preparation, I think, to allow us to be in a proper position to see that. We also learned to work together as a couple. Obviously, we could, we weren't even together to fight because she was at the sick kids and I'd be at home. But we just learned to solve some problems and we learned to not take offense. And I think that was, again, bode well for when we saw the asset, that we were willing to roll up our sleeves and keep 100% focused, both of us, on where we're going. So.
What I think too, it's so amazing. Like Bill said, it's, you know, you can make many plans, but God's plan will prevail. And it was his, Bill's sister. And, you know, back in the early day, you know, it very similar to how we build a business today, because she basically called me and said, you know, I'd like you to meet a couple, and they're in their early 20s, and they're like, you know, just moments away from retiring and being debt free from starting this asset. And it was like, okay. And she had talked to me only, and we ended up, you know, obviously seeing the business, starting the process. But it was really neat because I was the one that went initially. And I think, like I said, it was not that I wanted a business, but I wanted a change. And so many times you got to understand that sometimes, you know, people are already a yes. They're either a yes or a no. You just got to start talking to them,
Yeah.
develop those interruptions, start asking them questions so that you can understand where they are at in life. Because where they're at in life, sometimes they don't even know that they're looking.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even know that there's a void. But when I started to understand that we needed more money, I needed more time. I wasn't going to be able to work anymore. I was a waitress bartender at the time, but when we brought Jenna home, it was like there was no way I was going to be able to work again. So I wanted a business,
Yeah.
or I don't know if I wanted a business, but I wanted income.
Yeah. Well, and you wanted to talk to somebody older than 6.
Yeah,
right? Like
true,
it was
true.
just a matter of, you know, because you're, you know, Jan's a social person. I was, you know, when we dated, I was the guy sitting in the corner, and she was the one, the life of the party. And so all of a sudden, you know, when you have a 24-hour cared child, I mean, Janice was kind of hunkered down there in her home. And, you know, and again, it's just a great example of deepening the conversation, because, you know, if you were just asked, you know, if you were looking, you would probably said no. But when you were approached with what the couple had already done and what they were accomplishing, that they were, you know, looking to retire from their jobs and walk away with an asset built as a cash flow millionaire asset, then that piqued your interest. And so that's so important. And, you know, as we move forward, just deepening those conversations, finding the crack in the pot, and not assuming, you know, what that crack in the pot is. So I know for me, go ahead, hon.
No, go ahead.
I think the biggest thing is, you know, as we got started in the asset, we, you know, Dexter always said, you gotta learn to manage 3 things. You want to be successful, you got to learn to manage 3 things: time, money, and people. And so we were not managing those 3 things properly. We, you know, our time, we had, our goal setting was terrible. We put our goals in sand and our plan in concrete. All I thought that I could do with my life was construction and farming. That's all I thought. All I could do is work with my hands. I had no concept or no idea of working smart, not just hard. And so, you know, consequently, we goal set, and each goal kept getting moved because we wouldn't change the plan. We wouldn't think outside the box. You know, we made bad decisions with our money because we had no coaching. We didn't budget. We didn't have anybody speaking into our lives that actually had fruit on the tree and could set us an example or show us an example of how to get where we wanted to be. And then people. You know, you think association is only important when your kids are in school, but it's important all the way through your life. So we began to change those associations. We began to prioritize. You know, I remember it was, you know, I played hockey. I'm not proud of this, but when I saw the asset, I was 29 years old playing hockey, probably 3 to 4 nights a week, 12 months of the year. It was in winter hockey, summer. I mean, it was something that I was pretty good at. And so you go where you get your ego stroked. I was broke. But I started realizing, because I got access to information, I got access to people that said, like, what are you doing? You know, how do you expect to feed your family working, you know, 40 hours at a wage somewhat over minimum? You know, what are you doing? And so all that began to prioritize, and, you know, I started to separate things and put them in the right categories. And, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, Dr. George, I remember, you know, sat me down, first or second meeting, and, you know, we didn't have money to build an asset. And so he sat me down, he said, Bill, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get a little pad from the dollar store and a pencil, and I want you to start writing down every penny that you spend. And so I did that. I mean, I was coachable. I listened. And so I write down the work side, we had this, sometimes we built in situations where, they had this truck that drove in and beeped the horn, and then we'd all come out of the houses like lemmings and spend money we didn't have. And so from that to whatever, I started writing it down. I think it was like 21 days into it, I wrote in my book, I'm an idiot. Right. And I started realizing where I was wasting. You don't waste money on, on a payment for a house or rent or whatever. You waste it on the nickels and dimes you spend on stupid stuff. So, and then people, I think for us, the biggest change for people was we started being access to audios. And that was the first introduction to a whole different set of thought process, a whole different set of people. We started to fall in love with the people in these audios, what they had, what they were doing, what they were speaking about, the ways they were speaking about it, how they were talking to each other, husband and wife. And so that really was the first aspect of people. Then we got to come to these amazing conferences, and now obviously this is virtual, this one, but we were at a point where we were not.
Some water.
I'm going to get some water when you start talking. So go ahead.
Sorry. Anyways, I love what Bill, because that was my next point too, was just we were coachable. And, for whatever reason, we did not pretend that we knew what to do. So we decided to say, okay, there's a system, there's a process. Let's follow the process, because all these people that we were listening to on the audios, all these people that were mentoring us, they had the fruit on the tree. And so we decided to be coachable. We decided to say, okay, you tell us what we need to do next. And that's what we did. And, if they told us to, buy some, system like audios and books because we needed to feed our organization, we did that.
Well, even, you think that the business is different. It wasn't. When we got started in this business, our upline, our growing upline, they vetted us. They were looking to go emerald. They had already set an emerald goal. They had a platinum organization already. They had one that was like 5,000, 6,000 PV. And so they were looking for the third organization. And so we were vetted. We were told if they were going to work with us and coach us, we had to be on the system. We had to do our volume. There was this whole litany, the 9 core habits. Were we willing to show the plant? Were we willing to put people through a QP process? And so all those things, and it's so amazing that mindset properly prepared Jan and I, right? Properly prepared Jan and I to, basically get off to a quick start. I remember seeing the asset for the first time. And I'm looking at it, I'm, looking at the performance bonus chart. And I remember asking him after he got done showing me the asset, he said, okay, how long does it take, to get to the top of the chart? How long does it take to get to 7,500 points and be in platinum qualification? He didn't even bat an eye. He said 90 days, 90 days. Everybody does it in 90 days. And it's okay. And so that was planted in my mind that, okay, 90 days. And then, after the meeting, we laid out a structure. Okay, we need 6 to 12 people the first 60 days to lay a foundation, and we're going to help that, but boom, boom, boom. And then, he kept me away from everybody else. The only people that I talked to was him and the organization we were building. Everybody was under. So we had this mindset that this could be done. Now we didn't go, into platinum and qualification in 90 days. I think it was our 4th month in the business. We went 7,500, but I mean, we went enough 6,000 or whatever. So that line of sponsorship that we were in put him in emerald qualification. Well, that was huge belief for me, because he spoke a goal, said it was going to happen, said what was going to happen for us, made it happen. And so then when we started platinum qualification, we set a goal to go in emerald qualification ourselves. Right? Why? Well, because we had a belief. We had set a trajectory based on our upline's, belief system and focus. And so, we need to get back to something like stop worrying about what you did. And it wasn't like there was a lot of things happening, in our area, even in our outside organizations, our sisters and brothers in the business that were in different lines of sponsorship. He had just made a conscious effort that he was moving forward, and he was looking for people to move forward with him. And it was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, awesome. And I think the biggest thing for us too was just, doing the, like I said, being coachable, doing what we were told to do, and then also getting the confidence.
Yeah.
And I always look, Bill got confidence by performance. And I don't want to be, what do you call it, vain or whatever, shallow. I got confidence because of the checks. Like all of a sudden, it's like Bill was doing the work. They were telling him what to do. He was doing the work. We were growing the business, right? And then all of a sudden, the checks started coming in.
Yep.
And so that's what gave me confidence. I think most women, need to know that what they're doing is going to make a difference in their family, because obviously we were busy. I was busy, especially with the kids. I know we didn't really divulge a lot, but, I was feeding Jenna through a G-tube in her stomach, which had to get done every 4 hours. So this was not just, a special needs child. It was a special needs child that had to get taken care of every 4 hours. And I was not a nurse. I used to faint, if the kids
still do.
Yeah, true. I know I had to get a COVID test, and it was like, I even had the doctor hang on to my hand. And that was just because I wanted to go see my mom at a nursing home. And, but anyways, it's just, we went through a lot. And I know, if there's young families or young couples that are starting to build the business and you've got young kids or whatever, I am telling you that if you teach them and you show them that, life has struggles, but you can get through it, and don't pay attention to the failures or the things that are hard, the hardships in life, because that's what's molding you. Because I do believe that Bill and I were molded because of our situation with Jenna, because of our no finances, because of all that kind of stuff that has enabled us to basically, have a life that I pinch myself.
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage you, whatever you're going through, whatever hardship, we had hardships too, and but we got through them. So learn from them. Don't just feed off them.
Yeah. Make a conscious effort to, get rid of that toxic. Sometimes it's just toxic. You're left to your own thoughts, and that's when you need to get with your mentor and say, I need to clean this up. And, I wrote here, growth in this business for us was a transfer of information and emotion, because as Janice mentioned in her teaching today, some things are caught, some things are taught. And we caught the heartbeat of this business. We caught, a belief and an excitement and a dream, of what could actually happen. And again, we were just filled with hope that the great thing can happen. But finally, but we knew with that hope, with that restored belief in ourselves and in our lives, that we needed to get to work. And we became, the first work that I did, I just became hungry to learn. And, I'm not proud of this. I probably had not read a book in its entirety till I saw this asset. And then I became a book hog, if you were, a bookworm. I mean, I read and primarily in the beginning was just to get a vocabulary. I mean, my goodness, I spent most of my life in a hockey dressing room or a farm barnyard, or a construction site. And so all you got taught was 3 and 4 letter words. And so, I needed to, get my skill set. I needed to learn a vocabulary. I needed to, just become positive. I remember reading books about, self-image, and just Born to Win by Louis Timberlake was the first book that just set me on my ear. I started reading all these success stories of people that are accomplished and where they come from. Sometimes, if you're not exposed to their history, all you see is their outcome, then you really don't have belief that it can happen for you. But when you're exposed to some of the hardships that some of these great performers in all fields had done and where they'd come from, that just renewed my spirit, renewed my hope. And so from learning, what happened is I had to put up what I call the noise reduction headphones. I don't know if you've ever flown before and you've ever had, where you can put the headphones on that just basically cancel out everything that's happening. Well, that's what I did with all my friends, all the other things in my life. I was just singularly focused on learning how this business this work, because I didn't want to play around with it. They said it was a 2 to 5 year plan to do project one and make, 5 or 6,000 bucks a month. I said, well, let's do that in 2 years, and then 5 years, let's knock out, helping 6 others. And so we understood that there was work ethic required, and we went to work to do it. And so we focused on the system. We kept it simple. Dr. George always said this: genius is the person that takes the complicated and makes it simple. The idiot is the person that takes the simple and makes it complicated. I understood that what I needed to learn is how to go platinum, and I needed to do it. Right? Because if I was going to go on to Emerald and Diamond, I was going to have to help at least 3 or 6 or 9 other people do the same thing. So if I didn't understand it myself, I couldn't rely on my upline to do it. I mean, I think month 2, month 3 in the business, I was showing all the board plans or the assets in my business. I was showing everybody. Nobody in my upline was showing anybody except myself. Why? I needed to take on that responsibility. I wanted to learn. I knew I had to fail. I knew that not all those presentations would be great. Some of them were, presentations, then they became more of communications, right? Because I learned how to communicate. I learned how to feed from people and read people and interface in conversations. And so that really was important to me. And so go ahead.
Yeah, I like how he said about the growing, because we did grow at different intervals. Yeah. And, so many times, Bill was growing like this, and I was like down here going, oh no, we're really doing this. Because there was many times it was like, it was like, there's so much going on in our life, Bill. Do we really need to build this business?
And I think in all fairness, I had a little more access to audios. Right?
For sure.
When it was audio time in the car or even at work, you get a headset or earphones, whatever. I just utilized more. And so when you get more audio time, when you get more time, away from, the kids and the thoughts or whatever. And I just believe that was the case, but at least you didn't hold me back. So many times I think people hold their other spouse back because they're growing quicker than whatever. And you said, hey, carry on, keep going, keep rock and rolling. And then that led to, this coachability factor where I understood, okay, we really built the business, 30 days at a time. Mm-hmm. From the first month we were in the business, we laid out a game plan with our upline, much like it was a pre-30-day core run or a pre-90-day core run, where we listed out all the things we needed to do, our core habits, and then we set goals in every area. It was registering people, volume, right? How many people we're going to get on the system and get to conferences, how many people we're going to help sponsor somebody. And so we laid that all out. And we did that from 0 to diamond. Why? Well, because we needed to track our metrics. We needed to track our data. And so when we, sat down every 30 days, we had metrics, we had data. We knew what we did right. We knew what we did wrong. We knew what we needed to work on, and we would take coaching. We would take instruction. We didn't take offense. Everybody, even you watch the Masters was on here a couple of weeks ago. And so you watch some of these people are hitting golf balls, after hours, in the dark. They hit thousands, and these guys have already hit millions of golf balls, but because they had a coach and they noticed something through that round, hey, come on, let's get to the range. Let's work on that. Let's get that figured out. And so they didn't go home and pout because their coach figured out something in their swing that was a little off. They hit the range and they went and did what they needed to do. Why? Because they're professionals. That's what professionals do, right? Is they don't take offense, and they go and they tweak, or they figure out what's not working, and they go make some things happen. Go ahead.
No, I think too, I remember one time I was getting frustrated, because I think all of you guys are going to get frustrated at one point in the business or not. And I remember reaching out, and I encourage everybody to, have a mentor in the business and reach out and ask them questions, because they will tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And so it's so important to have that mentor to reach out to and give a call to. And I remember calling them and saying, it's getting, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Our business was growing so fast, so large, which is great when I look back. But at the time, when you're in the moment, you get overwhelmed. And I remember, what they said to me? They said, Jan, you're cramming 40 years of hard work into 3. Of course, it's going to be hard. And I thought about that and I thought, wow, if I can work for 3 years, work my tail off to build an asset that's going to pay us for the rest of our lives, willable to our kids, I think I can get through it. And just like you guys, I think you guys need to, gut it up. I know with these crazy times, what's going on in the world and the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, but we can figure this out.
Yep.
We can figure this out through technology. All you have to do is reach out and hand this business to someone else. And guess what? They're going to rock and roll too. And you're going to create their lifestyle as far as being able to cram 40 years into 3 years for them.
Right.
So, get excited about that. Have that kind of passion that you can change somebody's life.
I remember even just before, we went into that 30-day metrics and data. I remember Dr. George sat with me and he said, Bill, I'm going to coach on these 5 areas. And, he said, he took out a piece of paper and he says, I want you to every month talk to me about relationships. And he says, when people are married, that's, marriage is complicated. And so I want you to talk about relationships. I mean, you and Jan are going to have things. I want you to come to me first with them and let's work it out. Let's not, sucker thumbs or whatever, mope on it for 3-4
or fight for months.
fight for months. Let's get it figured out. Kids, you guys got kids. Let's figure that out. And the most thing that happen is when you're doing more, you're thinking your kids, are being affected by you missing a hockey game or a soccer game or a ballet or whatever. And I'm blessed to say that our kids are amazing. I don't know if you want to step in there.
Oh, for sure. And lots of times it is so funny how people, think that, building this business, what's going to happen to our kids. And I am telling you that, obviously, everybody's got to work on each other for sure. Yeah. But I can totally say that our kids have learned so much. There's no way we would have been able to teach them the entrepreneurship, the discipline, the relationships, just being the people they are. Like I get so many compliments when people meet my kids and they say, oh my goodness, you guys did such a great job. But it wasn't us. It was the system. It was getting involved in a system that took life skills and developed them. Because I think Bill and I always had the life skills. Like I know I love the story that his mom tells about him when he was a little boy. Like I think he was like 6 years old or something. And I guess under the farmhouse, the dog went and had these puppies, and somehow these puppies were way underneath the porch, and you could hear the puppies squealing, but they couldn't get out. And so Bill, I guess, as a little 6-year-old, he just kept digging and digging and digging, and he had a cast on his arm. Yeah, he had broken his arm, but he just kept digging and digging and digging until he saved these puppies. And it's a story of because I think we all have it in us, but in this business, it brings out your best strengths. It brings out who you really can be. Yeah. And I just encourage you that just, engulf the system into your family. Obviously you can't force it on your family. We've never forced the business on our kids, but they're all successful in their own right.
Because of the business. And even Jenna lives independently and she's out there and about, but she's doing great. Yeah, even our older 2 girls and their husbands are multimillionaires in their own right. And, Jack's still in his 20s and is moving forward as well. And, again, it's because it takes a village to raise a child. And our village was this community, was this association, was the Yeager family. Mm-hmm. And, we got them around it as much as possible so that they could speak into our kids' lives maybe when we couldn't. And the same with Dr. George. He could speak into our kids' lives when maybe we couldn't. And so, so relationships, kids, finances, I talked earlier about how that got started. Faith, we got talked to about faith and having faith and believing that the great thing can happen, and to expand and our spirituality, and to grow in that area so that we can become examples that people would want to follow in all areas of our life. And so that was huge for us, is that mentorship. And really that's the value added of this asset, is the mentorship that's available to you, and what you can do with it and from it. So.
Awesome. And I think the only thing that I was going to add too is that, I love this saying, ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. Make sure that you're feeding your brain, feeding your soul, with the books and the audios, and always knowing that, reaching out to your mentor so that you have the positive input that you need. And I know, in the last, obviously year, I think we've all needed that mentorship. And so many times, people can, they're like elevators. They can either take you up or they can take you down. And we've had many stories in the last year where people tried to take us down. And I remember an IBO called me that, she's sort of retired in the business now. She does collect a nice performance check. And, or actually in hers, it's a position check.
Yeah, exactly.
I always say we get paid a performance check, not a position check. But in this case, it is a position check for her. But anyway, she called me and said, "Oh, Jan," she says, "with everything going on, the business must be so tough." And, and all of a sudden I started to think about it, and I'm thinking, no, it's like, I'm so thankful that we have the business we have, because everybody's shopping online. Everybody would love to get paid to shop online. Everybody's working from their home office, right? Everybody's looking for world-class quality products. Everybody's looking to, get their health and wellness better and their immunity system up. And, we've got the best business out there. We just got to share it more. We got to talk to people more. And I know with, keeping 6 feet away from everybody, but there's ways around it. You can, reach out and talk to people, social media, outside, whatever it is. And, but you just got to get excited about it and do the work that you need to do. And, in our story, we did the work that we had to do years ago, but we're still doing the work now. We're still doing the business now to build that legacy and teach people, because people will only do, they do 100% of what you do wrong, but they do, how's that? Yeah, 50% of what you do right. So that's why, we have to be the example for our business, right? Because people will do 100% of what you do wrong and 50% of what you do right. So make sure you're doing a lot of right things. Make sure you're out there, creating interruptions, dropping the message, promoting the business as far as the mentorship and the people you're working with, and doing what you need to do.
And the wrong things are maybe just being examples of how you're talking to your organizations, how you're, interfacing, how you deal with people, how you deal with problems, right? And all those simple little things, but sometimes people, they notice that stuff, and they need that great example of whatever. I wrote here is our story is a development of self-worth, because self-worth is the matrix from which all good things happen. For Jan and I, we continually bolstered our self-worth. We began to really understand that we could change not only our lives, but we could change other people's lives. And even if it was for a season or for a reason, right? We didn't look at, okay, some people passed through, some people stayed, doesn't matter. We just wanted to leave a positive impact on everybody that came through our lives. And, a couple of lessons that, I jotted down here that you want to make part of your journey is to protect yourself. Understand who's in your corner, understand who is, as Jan just said, who's the elevator up, protect yourself, from the naysayers, protect yourself. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's close friends. And sometimes you just need to have a little separation for a bit until you can get your self-worth to a level where you're not affected by that. One of the things I believe is people can handle way less negative than they think they can. We didn't talk negative about the business in our family, right? We didn't talk negative in their business with our organization, right? If we had something that concerned us, the only person that heard about that was Dr. George or now Jeff. Jaeger. And even Jeff the other day, I mean, the first quarter of this asset, this fiscal year, because it starts in September 1st, the first quarter, it's up. All matrix is up in the corporation. It's unbelievable. Why? Because as Jan mentioned, people are looking for this business. Protect your team, right? Protect your team by giving them great information and great perspective, but also positive affirmations, right? And proving that with your actions. Your net worth won't exceed your self-worth. So continue to work on that. Anything you want to add?
I think the biggest thing too is, me, I love stories. But the story I just read recently was about if you were given a vehicle, so a car, if you were, say, a car, and basically that was the only car that you would ever get for the rest of your life, how would you take care of it? And I thought about that. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, if I look back, how many cars or vehicles have we had in our lifetime, right? But if you were given one car, how would you take care of it? And the story goes that, okay, you're only given one mind and one body. How are you taking care of it? How are you feeding it? How are you making sure that it's working and being at the best 100% functioning? And so I started to think about that, and it's like, all you got to do is keep feeding your mind and keep feeding, obviously your body with good stuff. And then that way it's the same as this business. Keep feeding the business with good stuff, because that's what's going to keep your business growing and growing, and making sure that, it is there for your children.
I think, a couple last thoughts here. One of the things that separates or is the outlier in this business is momentum. And, momentum is something, if you've ever had it and then lose it, that if you work hard to get it back again, you never want to lose it again. Momentum is I think Jan used to talk about the fat lady on the swing where you're pushing her. It really takes a lot to get her going, but once you got her going, she ain't stopping. And so you can create that momentum. I think Jan and I created that momentum when we became the hardest workers in the room. When I walked into any event and any time in the place between zero and diamond, I walked into that room and that environment knowing that I was, if not I was one of the hardest workers in that room. I was making stuff happen. And it started with just private momentum. That's all I could control. I couldn't control who got in and what kind of volume people did, but I could control my listening. I can control my reading. I could control my modeling, how I watched Dr. George or the other leaders in the business and how they dealt with people, how they dealt, with people's objections or questions or any of these things. I could be accountable. I could be private momentum. I could deal with my skill set. Accountability is the gas in this work ethic engine. It's the gas, accountability, because just to do the work and not to be accountable, not to have some, what do we call after action review of what you've actually accomplished, then it's just fruitless. And then personal momentum from private momentum is what you can control. We could control then our personal circle. Jan and I never have had problem doing volume. In many cases, she always thought she could go platinum on her own. But that happened after, obviously, we created an income.
My skin looks great, though, doesn't it?
It looks fantastic. But we started controlling our controllables. Once we learned the skill set, then we could build a structure. Structure is the thing that all great things come from. Nobody can stop you from personally introducing partnership. Personal partnerships is the key to the structure of this business. The plan right now, the way the corporation pays us, the profitability is in personal partnering, honoring partnerships, growing partnerships. And so we do that. And many times, my coach would call the play, Bill, you need to get more structure, because we can get comfortable in helping other people, but sometimes you have to help yourself. And so, he'd call the play, Bill, you need to put on some more structure. You need to get proper structure in this business so you can get the results that you want. So anything else?
I think the biggest thing too is, I think we started off telling about how hard it is to tell our story, because, you feel like you're not bragging a bit, but in the sense you're bragging or whatever. But I think for me, I always wanted to encourage people that the business has allowed us to have a lifestyle that I don't think there's any other way that we could have accomplished what we've accomplished. And we went from about 1,100 square foot home, and we were able to purchase. And I say this because we didn't do anything else. It was the business. We started, he was construction farmer worker. I was working, bartender restaurant till we had the kids. And then I was basically a stay-at-home mom. But within 3 years of starting this asset, we were able to purchase a 106-acre horse farm. And so for the next 20 years, we raised our kids on this horse farm, and we put a golf course in. We put a swimming pool in. We had, I think at one time we had 11 horses. What else did you say? Hot tub.
Trails,
all kinds of stuff. We had so much fun. We ended up building Bill's parents a home so that they could come and sort of help us with the kids and the horses and the farm and all that kind of stuff. And so we lived this life of Riley for 20 years, raising the kids. And I'm telling you that it was just so awesome. And I can't encourage you enough that, if you have small kids or whatever, build this business so that you can build an incredible life with them. And it's not going to spoil them. Yes, we spoiled our kids, but we also made them watch us work hard. They not only got spoiled, but they also watched us work hard. And, even to this day, I talk about, as the kids got older, obviously we bought another home, and obviously homes throughout the couple of years or whatever. But even today, we were able to purchase a incredible home that I absolutely love, and it's sort of a rec area too, with a hot tub and a sauna, and we're close to the walking trails, and it's just beautiful. Water view galore, not waterfront, but it's water view galore, and it's just so neat. And I also talk a lot about how for 10 years, we had the opportunity to take the kids when they were teenagers. This was before they had, we started to add boyfriends and girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. But we had 10 years of traveling all over, especially at Christmas time. We usually took the kids, instead of buying gifts and everything for them, we'd take the kids and we'd go on all these spectacular trips, and we had so much fun. We'd rent vehicles, and we went to all these great places and stayed at these beautiful resorts, and just I guess had a way of being able to celebrate success with our family. And I can't encourage you enough that this business can offer you that too, but you got to do the work.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think the last thing I want to talk about is appreciation. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's easy today to say how much we appreciate what this business has done, what the upline has done for us, Dr. George and Marion and the Yeager family. But I believe the key to our success is we appreciated before we had anything. We appreciated the system. We appreciated the environment. We appreciated the culture that was created for us. And because of that appreciation, we showed the appreciation. We understood that your downline, the people on your team, your partners will treat you exactly as how you treat your upline. And so we just learned those simple skills of appreciation, of edification, of how to properly position people, not put them on a pedestal that everything's perfect, but we had them in a place of appreciation that without them, just like I hope that's the way you feel. I hope you feel that without the team and the leaders that you have, where would you be? Right? They've taken the foresight and the wherewithal to put this together so that you're fed. No matter what's happening out there, they're feeding their organization. It just doesn't happen by accident. It takes time and energy and thought. And so appreciate that. Excuse me. Have a culture, right? And of respect, and honor. Like, guys, I mean, for me, I got, and maybe it was my sports, but I wanted to be somebody that had my uplines back. I wanted to be, now I couldn't be their first platinum, right? But I could be their first emerald, which I was. I could be their first diamond, which I were. I could break this. a diamond before anybody else did. All those things were something that I could control, and I could then best bestow and show. What do they say? The best way to show, edification is to go win, is to go do the work. And again, like Jan mentioned, I mean, we look around and she always has some great pictures, and our family picture there, and that's our second daughter and her husband's home. They sold for whatever, $1.5 million, and now they're on their third home. I mean, it's craziness. That's on the steps of that. And I look over there, my dad and myself, and I have a grandson named William. So there's 3 Williams, 3 generations of William. And that picture is taken at my oldest daughter's cottage, their second home, that they just sold so they could upgrade for $3 million. I mean, this gives you an example.
They're buying a cottage on an island.
Yeah, they're buying it's unbelievable.
Or building.
But this happens as a result of people say, oh, I want my kids. Well, your kids want to see you raise the bar. If you want to do something for your kids, go out and show them that you can overcome. Go out and show them that you can bust through. Go out and show them that you can, that old dogs can learn new tricks, that you can develop a skill set. And that's the best thing you can do. Whether they choose to join you, which is, if they do, fantastic. But if they don't, you have raised the bar. You have put yourself in a position to not, because if you raise the bar, then you haven't taken excuses from yourself. You haven't had this victim mentality, right? And so if you don't have a victim mentality and you don't take excuses from yourself, you don't allow your kids to make excuses or for them to be victims. Get involved, value this system, value this mentorship, the value added of this business, embrace it, value it, right? It's amazing, explode with it. Our theme, that has been the Jaeger Street is grit to grind to glory. Right, that's been one of their themes here over the last 18 months or so, and it's just so fitting. I think book of the month last year, the start of January, was a book called Grit, and it just talked about having that stick-to-itiveness, not quitting, right, to see it through. And you're on this conference, you're part of this organization, and I just encourage you to see it through. Right? Don't just be a spectator. Get on the playing field, get in the arena, and let's stir up some stuff and make some stuff happen, because your leaders, if you appreciate what they've done for you, then you'll go out and make some things happen. So
it's worth it.
Let's have some closing thoughts. What else?
It's worth it. I think that's the biggest thing I want to share, is that it's just so worth it. I look back at all the things that we went through, but it's the blood, sweat, and fears that made us the people we are. And, I just, Bill and I think we've tried it poor. Yeah. It was okay. We loved each other, all that kind of stuff. So we've tried it poor, but we've also tried it with money. And I love it so much better with money. I love being able to think big. I love being able to think about what our next, purchase or maybe our next investment's going to be. I get so excited about that because I know that we've worked hard, and, and our kids see us working hard to this day, obviously still. And, but it is a great feeling. And I know even the other day, somebody had said to Bill, he said, you always look at the positive side. And I thought, you know what? That's what we want to do. You always want to look at the positive side. Whatever you're going through, you can get through, and just be strong and know that it's worth it. Yeah, I think that's really our closing remarks is, we do believe the positive, that the great thing can happen. And I was thinking as you're saying that about, back to your girlfriend weekend, and you always come home and they're all, obviously in their 50s, late 50s. Yeah. And so they're all talking about retirement. And so their retirement is selling their home and buying a motor home, buying a fifth wheel trailer, not a motor home. Oh, right. Like a fifth wheel trailer. Which is nothing wrong with that. If you have a motor home. No, sorry. No. Yeah. So, but anyway, and then traveling, with that, this little, whatever, 10-foot box, and selling their home. And Jan and I are thinking, like, we want to have multiple $1 million assets, so that when we pass over, to our kids, our legacy, they say, well done, faithful servant. You guys made some things happen. Plus it's more exciting. I don't want to
stop helping people or stop living a dream. We still have dreams. And right now, we chose to say, okay, let's try the water view. Maybe it's in our cards to be on the water. We've never done that. They always say lake living is amazing. And we're gonna, we're not on the lake, but we can
Smell it.
yeah, we can hit a wedge to it. I mean, it's probably about 40, 50 yards away. And so we're going to experience that over the next year or two. And if it is in the cards that, hey, let's give it a try, at least we have the financial wherewithal to do that. And we have the capability, and we'll set a goal, and we'll talk to Jeff, and that's what we'll do. So we love you guys, respect you, appreciate.
Love your leaders.
We love your leaders. And hopefully this has found you in a place where you've renewed your mind, you've renewed your spirit. You're coming out of this conference with a renewed energy to go make some stuff happen. You're going to lock arms and with your upline, get that coaching and the mentor that you need. Go out and fail your way to the skill set that you deserve. And then from there, the sky's the limit. And we'll see you on the beaches of the world and the Q12 trips, on the trips that are created for us on Diamond Club. It's amazing. Love